Recently, FBX has been dropped over 30% year to date. Do you think the market volatility will continue?
Shipping has been dealing with some very unprecedented times, both COVID and now changes in trading patterns.
You mentioned that it will take time to return to the normal situation. So how long will it take?
Well, this is, it's like the world economy. Shipping is a very, volatile business. It's very difficult to predict.
A lot of people saying the shipping industry's peak period is going to an end. So what's your view towards the future of the industry?
Exceptional and unprecedented. We haven't seen these types of volatility in trade moved.
Can you summarize the future trend in 3 key words?
I think that's quite difficult. Listen, I think shipping has been very resilient and managed disruption incredibly well in very difficult circumstances.
本期节目我们邀请到的是 Clarksons 研究执行董事 Stephen Gordon. Hi Steve, nice to meet you. Now it is early morning in London. How are you lately?
All is good, thank you. We're very busy because the shipping markets are active, as you know, but it's great to be speaking to you this morning.
Clarksons has 170 years operation history, and it is listed in the London Stock Exchange. You have been in this industry for over 20 years, and you have been responsible for growing the valuation team since 2006. Therefore, can you bring some insights of the industry for us?
Well, we've been through a very exceptional period in the shipping market. Shipping is moving 85% of global trade, 12 billion tons, 1.6 tons for every person on the planet. And I think in the last couple of years, shipping has had to be very resilient. The key words to summarize shipping in the last couple of years have been disruption management, resilience, recovery.
As an index of global freight price, FBX has been up around 500% from 2020 September to 2021 September, only in 1 year. But recently, FBX has been dropped over 30% year to date. Do you think the market volatility will continue?
Shipping has been dealing with some very unprecedented times, both COVID and now changes in trading patterns and complex sanction environments from the situation in Russia and Ukraine. Tanker industry, the bulk carrier industry, the LNG industry, and all of these different markets are on slightly different cycles. Well, it's quite normal to have cycles. This has been very extreme, and I think we do feel that congestion will start to ease over time. The container industry has been investing a lot in new buildings, record new building investment, $42 billion last year, $21 billion this year. I think the expectation of the industry is that will ease and start to normalize gradually over time.
You mentioned that it will take time to return to the normal situation. So how long will it take?
Well, this is, it's like the world economy. Shipping is a very, volatile business. It's very difficult to predict. We've seen in the last few years that in an extreme event like COVID, there's been unpredictability, but there's always unpredictability from the world economy. We have geopolitical challenges today, and that's causing changes in energy trade, for example. We're also moving into a period where there's going to be a lot of energy transition, so it's unpredictable how much cargo will be moved around the world.
June and July is normally the peak season for shipping industry, but we see both the demand of shipping and the freight price are down. A lot of people are saying that the shipping industry's peak period is going to an end. So what's your view towards the future of the industry?
And I think it has been, exceptional and unprecedented. We haven't seen these types of volatility in trade moved. we've not seen this level of disruption. There are some similarities with the very high freight conditions that we had in 2006, 7, and 8. In fact, overall shipping transportation costs for all sectors is still today a little bit lower than it was at periods in the first half of 2008, for example. The container market is the highest that it's ever been, but some of the other markets like crude oil transportation, bulk carrier, iron ore, for example, gas transportation, some of the rates there are not as high today as they were in 2008.
New technologies for greener shipping is a theme of 2022 World Maritime Day. Considering the latest developments in international shipping, can you share with us your interpretation of this year's theme?
Green and tech are two themes that the shipping industry is embracing. I think during the COVID pandemic, those factors have increased in their importance for the shipping industry. The shipping industry produces 2.4% of global CO2 emissions and 1.8% of all greenhouse gases. We are seeing investment in alternative fuels. We are seeing investment in energy saving technologies. We are seeing the shipping industry embrace the challenges of the green transition, and very specifically for shipping, the fueling transition, which we think is one of the biggest themes for the industry in the next few decades.
Stephen, you have been involved with both numerous IPOs and bond projects over the past 10 years. Meanwhile, Clarksons has been working with both majorities of European banks and Chinese banks. So can you share some views towards the changing landscape of global shipping finance?
Shipping is a capital-intensive industry. And so the role of finance and the providers of the finance to the shipping industry is crucial. And there have been some big changes in the past decade or so. Asian policy banks and export credit, particularly in China, and we've also grown. We've also seen a strong growth of Chinese leasing companies, which have become a very important part of the market and providing an important role, not just for Chinese shipping companies, but for international shipping companies. And we estimate that over 8% of global shipping capacity is supported by Chinese leasing. In fact, we estimate that by the middle of the century, by 2050, we will need nearly $4.3 trillion of investment.
As the global shipping green agenda evolves, how do you think it might impact the global shipping finance practice?
Well, I think there are some important initiatives globally. We've spent a lot of time at Clarksons looking at the offshore wind industry. I know that that's very important in China. China is 45% of global offshore wind capacity by gigawatts is actually in China now, and there's huge growth. We believe that offshore wind will play a very important part in the energy transition. It's only 0.3% today, but it could be between 7 and 9% of global energy supply by 2050. And so that needs financing and that needs supporting. Also spent a lot of time looking at carbon capture, for example, and a lot of the innovation and technology that is needed to facilitate the green transition.
We are going through the green transition. So do you think the green transition period is right now in a tipping point?
In our view, the transition could take 20 or 30 years for the maritime. And at the same time, shipping industry has a responsibility to facilitate global trade. It has a responsibility to facilitate energy security, for example. Transition is the key word, but also a sense that it is urgent, it is a priority, and we must accelerate.
You mentioned China played a big role both in the new energy transition and shipping finance industry. Shanghai is committed to build an international shipping center. What kind of competitive advantages does China or Shanghai has in your viewpoint?
China is absolutely crucial to the maritime economy. From a trade perspective, 24% of all imports are into China in tons. Nearly a third of all container exports are ex-China. China is now 15% of global tonnage is owned by Chinese companies. That's been accelerating. China is 41% of all new building deliveries last year. It's over 40% of ship repair. So China has a fundamental role as shipping's biggest market. Shanghai has great opportunities and importance. Shanghai is a very strong maritime cluster. We're aware that Shanghai gets good government, both local and central support in terms of its maritime industry. We've seen some shipping companies relocate to Shanghai in recent years. You have some very important shipyards like Yicai and Hudong in Yangnan. You have some important ship repair. There is growth in some of the softer industries, intelligence, technology, security firms, exchanges, financiers. I think that 8 of the top 20 Chinese leasing companies are now based in Shanghai. So I think China is a very important maritime nation. We feel that the Chinese shipping fleet will continue to expand, that Chinese shipbuilding and Chinese repair, and China is the market leader in both of those. So I think we expect Chinese shipyards and repair yards to embrace new innovative technology that will help with decarbonization. And I think that is a trend that we see.
A lot of shipping participants are waiting for your outlook for the industry. Can you share with us?
Understood. Well, look, we start with a very strong position. In the shipping industry, the cash flow, on average in the first half of 2008, we have an index called the Clarksons Index. It was over $38,000 a day. So not quite as high as 2008, but quite close. I think going forward, I think we are quite cautious about the world economy. I think we need to watch the world economy very closely. We have a lot of inflation, particularly here in Europe. We have some macroeconomic headwinds, but I think we can take some optimism from the low order books and the opportunities and challenges from the emissions policies.
Thanks, Steve, for sharing all this with us. 也欢迎继续关注北外滩国际航运论坛高端访谈。